where I'm at with Genshin Impact. Now, this is going to be a longer sort of talking headpiece video, so feel free to minimize the tab or leave this video on in the background while you listen. Um, for context, I am an early game Genshin player. I started my account on the 3rd of February 2021, and I used to play the game every day up until about April of 2022. Unfortunately, the state of the game and the community is absolutely infuriating to me, and I need to sort of condense all of my thoughts into one space or format so that I can properly vent and get things off my chest and let the sort of knots in my head unravel. Because I've spoken with a therapist before, and they've said that sort of talking about the issues that are going on in my head helps unravel some problems, and it can help me feel more relieved, which I do agree with. So this is why I'm making this video. I won't bore you with talking about how there's no content in the game and how it's barely playable for more than an hour most days. Everyone and their dog has talked about it at this point, and I think there are other videos out there that have done much better job of explaining the inner workings on the more specifics of why the game cycle doesn't really work better than I ever will. What I do want to talk about is the absolutely abysmal state of Genshin's online presence, and specifically the state of the community and how they act. After the recent events that have transpired on Twitter regarding Toronto, I had the sudden realization that no Genshin content creator is safe. Just a few weeks back, if you'd asked me what I thought about Toronto, I would have said that he is probably the most loved Genshin content creator out there, and that he's just genuinely a good guy. I don't personally watch him that much, but from the small tidbits of content of his that I have seen, I just thought he was the most likable person. I thought that he was, just the Gene guy. He was nice to people who had this free to play character, and Gene is a lot of people's comfort characters. So the fact that he was a Gene main probably resonated with a lot of people. I just think he's the most brand safe you could possibly get, and then here we are, so seemingly overnight, flip of a dime, a witch hunt has started on him, and it baffles me why. Let's take a look at it. Let's bring up the tweet. So that's it. That's it. What are they even mad about? When I first saw this, my first impressions were that, oh, maybe because the character looks sort of like the same sort of age range as maybe Klee or Diona. Maybe they were insinuating that he's some sort of predator, which is nonsensical because all he said was drip. But from what I've seen from coverage of other channels like Hero Hey and other commentary channels, it seems like the reason why Twitter is angry is because he called it drip, seemingly appreciating a design of a character that Twitter is claiming to be whitewashed or too white. Now, don't get me wrong, I would absolutely love to see more diversity in Genshin, and the fact that there isn't more of it is a little disappointing, but I feel like it will come eventually. It will happen with time. If people are going to express their distaste for the design, this is absolutely not the right way of going about it. You can express your feelings about a design much better ways than this. And the fucking thing that pisses me off is people who redo the design, make it look absolutely fucking awful. They put like 5 minutes of effort into a drawing, but they just make the character's skin tone dark and they go, "There, I fixed it." It's like, shut the fuck up. And look, I also just want to clarify that whilst I do enjoy playing Genshin when there is content, I have never, and probably will never, consider myself part of the Genshin community, because it's an absolute fucking shithole, both on Twitter and TikTok, and quite a few other places as well. Like Instagram is not as bad as Twitter, but it's still pretty iffy. I am, however, part of some communities of Genshin or ex-Genshin content creators. Some of you may know that I am a regular in Twitch chats like Enviosity and Tectone, as well as I will sometimes, whenever I have the time, I'll pop in and see Bob VT whenever she's live. I enjoy all of their communities, and I think that from what I've seen, the problems that the problems that Genshin faces on places like Twitter and TikTok don't exist in these streamers' communities. They all have their own charm, and all of their communities are inviting and loving, and they're all really nice. All of these content creators are genuinely nice people when you get down to the core of who they are. I also may get some flack for this, but I also think it does need to be said that there have been quite a few channels that just get unnecessary amounts of hate and horrible things said about them. Mtashed and Tectone are huge examples of this. The amount of hate and shit that they get, and like used to get and still do to this day, is absolutely absurd, and it's uncalled for. Like, there is little to no reason why these two dudes are getting the amount of hate that they do, and they are just like the big ones that everyone has seen. I can't imagine the amount of channels that are smaller than they are that get hate because they have an opinion. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with someone, but fucking be civil about it and be mature, for Christ's sake. Having said this, I don't give a fuck who you watch or what your opinion on any streamer or content creator is. If you hate Tectone, I don't care. If you absolutely love Envy and think he's the best content creator out there, I also don't care. If you think that all of them are shit, I don't care. If you think all of them are great, I don't care. I don't give a fuck about anyone's opinions or takes because it's the internet, just as the same as no one gives a shit about my takes either. And at this point, some of you may be asking, so if you're aware that no one gives a fuck about your opinion, why make this video? And you raise an interesting point. The thing that's been troubling me the most is the cutthroat nature of Genshin as it stands. The recent drama with Toronto was a real shock, I think, to a lot of people. And as I and many others thought that he was just about as safe as any content creator could get, he was F2P friendly, and he was extremely brand safe. The fact that public opinion has just changed so rapidly is honestly quite terrifying. My goal is to hopefully inspire some other people to just speak up against the bullshit and just have civil conversations with people. Because I feel that the more people that sort of come out the woodwork, express themselves, and just talk, maybe things will change. As pessimistic as I usually am, I hope with all my heart that if enough people get the courage to speak up against the brain-dead attitude of the majority of the Genshin online user base, that we may be able to shift this equilibrium of the way the player base thinks. Ultimately, I believe the most amount of change will come from larger channels. For example, I've already mentioned that I watch Envy a lot. I think if someone like him was able to, in essence, rally his audience to speak out and promote more mature behaviour, not only within his Twitch community, but the general Genshin space as well, I would like to hope that more and more other content creators and just people of the community would adopt the same attitude and cause a chain reaction to go across. Because what we really need is we need people have a space where we listen to each other and we respect one another enough so that people can have civil conversations without just getting dogpiled. It's ridiculous. And listen, I understand that as someone, for example, like Envy or like Toronto or any other Genshin creator, it would be difficult to narrow down their sort of course of action when you have an audience as large as they do. But at the end of the day, it's better to put aside, well, not really put aside, but it's better to deal with feelings of anxiety or worry or something like that and do something about the issue rather than just pretend it doesn't exist and hope that it goes away, because it doesn't. And it's been proven in the past, year and a half that Genshin has been out, it just does not work, and something needs to be done. The main goal is to hopefully one day, I don't know when, next week, month, year, hopefully sooner rather than later, my goal is to try and transform Genshin from this fucking toxic positivity, cutthroat wasteland into an area where people can freely express their opinion without getting shit on because someone disagrees with them. The fact that this is even a reality where you cannot disagree with someone without them just trying to dox you is absolutely ridiculous. The problem with the community is that you can't argue with an idiot because they have their heads shoved so far up their own ass that they don't listen to reason. The best outcome is to be able to debate with people, share different opinions, and ultimately respect one another, and have the ability to agree to disagree. We cannot expect people to be perfect. We just need to allow people to make mistakes and learn from them so that we can grow as human beings. We need to allow people to make mistakes so that they can learn from them. You don't learn from getting everything right. You learn from making mistakes and bettering yourself from it. Another argument that I also want to address is that most people will say, oh, it's just the vocal minority, and I'm just going to tell you how it is. That's fucking bullshit. You cannot find Genshin on any social media platform without there being drama or hate threads about a certain topic or individual. As outlined by many others, the main target is always who is on top of the YouTube algorithm. First it was Mtashed, then it was Tectone, and now it's Toronto. The reason he's getting this ridiculous amount of hate is because he is at the top of the YouTube algorithm and he is an easy target. There is absolutely nothing wrong with him as a human being, it is purely because he is the most popular at the minute. Now, from my observations, and I may be wrong on this, what I've noticed is that the majority of the player base who are actively posting to Twitter and TikTok and are actively commenting and starting a lot of these hate threads, they're not older than like the age of 16. At best. I think the majority of the player base that goes online and posts either cringe shit or hate threads, they're probably about 13 or 14. Meaning that a lot of them are still in a very rebellious, anti-establishment or eat the rich phase, which is gaining popularity not just on the internet, but in general across the world. The problem is that these kids, these literal children, will take their views and opinions and blow them so far out of proportion. They cause major issues for both inside and outside of the Genshin sphere. Don't get me wrong, I have met some lovely people through Genshin Co-op, but unfortunately, these people are rare, and they are the actual minority. This quote-unquote vocal minority does not exist. They are the majority, because you cannot go anywhere without seeing them, and it's really, really frustrating. I also hear the argument, oh, but these are just children. Why are you trying to upset them or insult children? Isn't that like morally wrong? Like you're going after children and trying to humiliate them. Yeah, and I will tell you, because they need to learn that their actions have consequences. If they're going to act like clowns, people should treat them as such and laugh at them until they wisen up and either do something else or grow the fuck up. They want to talk shit to adults and play their game in the adult world, then they will be treated as adults. And if they act like I said, if they act like a clown in an adult's world, they will be treated like a clown, as they should be. It's extremely obvious from the arrogance and self-importance and high and mightiness of these kids that they have never ever tried to start a fight or shit talk anyone older than them in real life. I can tell you right now, if they spoke to people older than them the same way they do on Twitter and TikTok, they would have learnt the hard way that when you square up to an adult, you get your shit decked and you will get punched out. It's the same thing as when year 7s will square up to a year 11 in secondary school and they will just get absolutely flattened. Let me raise a question for you. Do you know what people outside of the Genshin sphere on the internet perceive of us? Because I can tell you exactly what they think of us, because that used to be my old friend group before they all dropped me when I started college. People outside the Genshin sphere think that we're either lifeless children shut-ins that own 17 million body pillows, or they think that we're ugly, sweaty old nonces sitting in our mum's basement. Let me paint a picture for you. I left school, secondary school, at 16, year 11, to move on to college here in the UK. I tried to keep in contact with my old friend group because I struggled to make friends. Guess what happened? The only person from that old friend group who kept in contact with me never actually spoke to me again, and he only ever messaged me to send me quote-unquote memes like this one that I'm going to put on screen now. essentially telling me that I am a nonce just because I play Genshin. Their logic for this? Because they discovered the existence of Klee. When they asked me who she was, I was like, oh yeah, that's Klee. Oh, she's adorable. She's like the younger sister character that everyone wants to protect. And we all just want to see her happy because she's extremely cute, and we just want her to be happy. I was then told that I should go to jail. Purely because a childlike character exists. I didn't dare tell him about Chi-Chi, Diona, or Sayu. I didn't fucking dare, because that would have just made everything worse. People think we are a fucking joke. We're like circus freaks for them to laugh at on places like the other sides of Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. What's even worse, this kind of virtue signalling happens even within the Genshin sphere as well. So you have morons throwing friendly fire around, calling people with it, like other Genshin players, calling Genshin players nonces, which then, because they're trying to get the moral high ground and feel all fucking self-righteous, and then it makes the whole community and the whole player base look worse, because they're like, oh, they actually are nonces then. Like, it's so fucking stupid and ridiculous. And look, I don't even think this needs to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. If there is anybody who fetishizes childlike looking characters like Klee, fetishizing them, you should be behind bars for life. I think this goes without saying, but I just need to cover my ass because I have seen the just absolute brain dead behavior that people who play this game, the way they behave on the internet is just fucking ridiculous. Another topic that has been circling this shit factory that I call my brain recently has been the just infuriating toxic positivity mindset that this whole Genshin space has adopted. The worst example of this arises when the discussion of characters comes up, or comfort characters. You cannot dislike a certain character because someone will be like, oh, you dislike Kaching? Oh, but she's my comfort character. You're a fucking nonce, or whatever. They'll just spit the most ridiculous bullshit because they have this this parasocial relationship with a character that doesn't exist. The worst specific example of this case was the teaser trailer for Yunjin. Let's get things straight. At the end of Yunjin's teaser trailer, she made that noise that was honestly quite jarring and confusing to most people. I think that goes without saying. And I think most people can agree that it did not sound good. However, in her story quest, or whatever quest it was, where they had that whole animation sequence where she sung that Chinese opera about Shenhe, that was absolutely amazing. And it was an actual proper song that was sung, and it wasn't just a noise. It was so much more enjoyable, and it did actually make me want to go and search for Chinese opera on places like YouTube and Spotify, as I'm sure was the case for most other people. But in the case where her teaser trailer, she ended it was like the end screen where it says Genshin Impact, and then it tells you play on PlayStation or play for free, and she made that noise. It was not good. In this case, Tectone was the one who got dogpiled on because he gave an opinion that people did not like. Was Tectone's comment uncalled for? I don't think so. Was it a little bit far? Maybe. I think it could be argued that it was a bit far. Was the amount of hate that he got justifiable? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Thank you for sticking with me through this video. I've never scripted a video like this before, and it has taken me quite a while to sort of accurately translate my thoughts into coherent sentences. But if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like,